The hum of the airplane engines was a steady, distant roar as we climbed above the clouds. My daughter Lily pressed her face to the window, her breath fogging the glass. I watched her, my heart aching with the familiar mix of pride and sorrow. She was 12 now, old enough to remember, old enough to miss her mother every single day. If you enjoy powerful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. I tried to focus on the book in my lap, but my mind wandered. Every flight reminded me of Anna, her laughter, her fear of turbulence, the way she'd squeeze my hand during takeoff. 5 years had passed since the accident, but the pain was as sharp as ever. The flight attendant rolled by with drinks. I ordered coffee, black, and Lily asked for ginger ale. She was quiet, lost in her own thoughts. I reached over and squeezed her hand. "We'll be there soon, kiddo." She nodded, but her eyes stayed on the aisle. I followed her gaze, expecting to see nothing but strangers. But then Lily's face went pale. She sat bolt upright, her finger trembling as she pointed across the cabin. "Dad," she whispered, her voice shaking. "That's Mum." My heart stopped. I turned, following her finger to row 14. There in the aisle seat sat a woman with auburn hair, her profile achingly familiar. She wore a blue scarf, Anna's favorite color. My breath caught in my throat. It couldn't be. Anna was gone. I'd buried her myself. I stared, my mind racing. The woman turned slightly, revealing a face so like Anna's that for a moment the world spun. She was older perhaps, but the same high cheekbones, the same gentle smile. She laughed at something her seatmate said, and the sound sent a chill down my spine. Lily tugged my sleeve. "Dad, do you see her? That's Mum, I know it." I swallowed hard, forcing myself to breathe. "It's not possible, Lily. She's gone." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "But it's her, I know it is." I looked again. The woman glanced our way, her eyes meeting mine for a split second. Something flickered in her gaze. Recognition, fear, or maybe just curiosity. She turned away, but my heart hammered in my chest. Was it possible? Had I been wrong all these years, or was grief playing tricks on both of us? The seatbelt sign dinged. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, announcing turbulence ahead. The cabin lights dimmed, and the woman in 14C pulled her scarf tighter, glancing over her shoulder, right at me. I felt a jolt of electricity. I had to know the truth. As the plane rocked, I tried to calm Lily. She clung to my arm, her eyes never leaving the woman. I watched too, every nerve on edge. When the turbulence passed, I unbuckled my seatbelt and stood. "Stay here," I told Lily. "I'll be right back." I made my way down the aisle, my legs unsteady. Passengers glanced up, annoyed or curious. I stopped beside 14C, my heart pounding. "Excuse me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. The woman looked up, her eyes wide. For a moment I saw Anna, alive, real, right in front of me. "Yes," she said, her voice soft, unfamiliar. I hesitated. "I'm sorry, but you look just like someone I knew." She smiled politely, but there was a flicker of something else. Panic, maybe, or guilt. "I get that a lot." I nodded, my mind spinning. "Sorry to bother you." I returned to my seat, my hands shaking. Lily looked at me, hope and fear warring in her eyes. "Is it her?" I shook my head. "I don't know, Lily. I just don't know." As we began our descent, I glanced back at 14C. The woman was gone. Her seat was empty, her scarf left behind. I grabbed Lily's hand. "Come on." We hurried down the aisle, searching the cabin, but she had vanished. We pushed through the crowd, my heart racing, Lily's hand tight in mine. The woman from 14C was nowhere to be seen. I scanned the faces at the baggage claim, searching for auburn hair, a blue scarf, anything that might prove I hadn't imagined it all. Lily tugged my sleeve. "Dad, look." She pointed to the far end of the terminal, where a woman in a grey coat hurried toward the exit, her head down, her steps quick and nervous. I hesitated only a moment before we followed. The crowd thinned as we reached the doors. The woman glanced back, her eyes meeting mine for a split second. There was no mistaking it. Those were Anna's eyes. My breath caught. She turned away, disappearing into the swirl of taxis and shuttles outside. "Wait," I called, but my voice was lost in the noise. Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Dad, don't let her go." I knelt beside her, my own hands shaking. "I promise, Lily. I'll find out who she is. I promise." We checked into our hotel, but sleep was impossible. I sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker, replaying every moment on the plane. Was it really Anna, or was grief making me see what I wanted to see? Lily curled up beside me, her voice small. "What if Mum's alive? What if she left us?" The question cut deeper than any wound. I pulled her close. "If it's really her, we'll find out why. I promise." The next morning, I called the airline, asking about the passenger in 14C. The agent was polite but firm. "I'm sorry, sir. We can't give out passenger information." I hung up, frustration burning in my chest. I needed answers. I needed the truth. As we ate breakfast, Lily's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her eyes wide. "Dad, look." It was a message from an unknown number. "Stop looking. Let the dead stay dead." My blood ran cold. I took the phone, reading the message twice. Who would send something like that? Was it a cruel prank or a warning? I called Mark, my old friend from the police force. I told him everything. Anna's accident, the woman on the plane, the message. He listened in silence. "Jack, you need to be careful," he said. "If Anna's alive, there's a reason she disappeared, and someone doesn't want you to find her." I thanked him, my mind spinning. I decided to start at the beginning. Anna's accident. 5 years ago, her car had gone off a mountain road. The wreck was found, but her body was never recovered. The police called it a tragic accident. I'd spent months searching, hoping, grieving. Eventually, I'd accepted she was gone. But now everything I thought I knew was unraveling. That afternoon, I visited the police station in the city where Anna's accident happened. I asked to see the old case file. The detective on duty, a young woman named Officer Ramirez, pulled the file and frowned. "Mr. Carter, there's something odd here. The file was accessed last week. Someone requested copies of the photos and the accident report." My heart pounded. "Who?" She shook her head. "It's redacted, but it was someone with high-level clearance." I left the station, my mind racing. Who would want to revisit Anna's case after all these years? And why now, just as I saw her on the plane? Back at the hotel, Lily was quiet, drawing pictures of our family, me, her, and Anna, all holding hands. I watched her, my heart breaking. I had to protect her, no matter what. That night, I dreamed of Anna, her voice calling my name, her face just out of reach. I woke in a cold sweat, the city silent around me. The next morning, a letter was slipped under our hotel door. No return address. Inside was a single photograph, Anna standing on a street corner, looking over her shoulder. On the back, a message, "Stop digging or you'll lose more than your wife." I stared at the photograph, my hands trembling. Anna's face was clear, her eyes wary, her hair pulled back the way she always wore it when she was nervous. The threat on the back of the photo chilled me to the bone. Someone was watching us, someone who wanted to keep Anna's secret buried. I tucked the photo away and tried to keep my voice steady for Lily's sake. "We're going to be careful, okay? But I need you to trust me and not talk to anyone about what we saw." Lily nodded, her eyes wide. "I'm scared, Dad." I hugged her tight. "Me too, but we'll get through this together." I called Mark again, this time sending him a photo of the letter and the message. He called back within minutes. "Jack, this is serious. Whoever's behind this has resources. You need to lay low. Let me do some digging on my end." I agreed, but I knew I couldn't just sit and wait. I needed to know why Anna had disappeared, and who was threatening us now. That afternoon, I checked our hotel room for bugs or hidden cameras. I found nothing, but the feeling of being watched wouldn't leave me. As I drew the curtains, I caught a glimpse of a man in a dark coat standing across the street, staring up at our window. When he saw me looking, he turned and vanished into the crowd. I decided to retrace Anna's last known steps. I drove to the mountain road where her car had been found. The guardrail was still bent, the trees scarred from the crash. I walked the shoulder, searching for anything the police might have missed. A local shopkeeper remembered the accident. "Strange thing that was," he said. "They never found her body, did they? Some folks say she just walked away." I pressed for more, but he shook his head. "That's all I know, sorry." Back at the car, I found a note tucked under the windshield wiper. "Go home, Jack. This isn't your story anymore." My blood ran cold. Someone was following me, always one step ahead. That night, as Lily slept, I sat in the dark piecing together the puzzle. Anna's accident, the woman on the plane, the threats. Someone had gone to great lengths to erase her, and now to keep her hidden. I remembered Anna's old friend Claire, who had moved away after the funeral. I called her, my voice shaking. "Claire, I need to know the truth. Did Anna ever contact you after the accident?" There was a long pause. "Jack, I can't talk about this on the phone. Meet me tomorrow." Alone. The next morning, I left Lily with a trusted neighbor at the hotel and drove to the address Claire gave me. She lived in a small house on the edge of town, her face pale when she opened the door. She let me in, locking the door behind us. "Jack, I never believed Anna was dead. A few months after the accident, I got a postcard. No return address, just a single line. 'I'm safe. Don't look for me.' I thought it was a cruel joke. But now..." I showed her the photo and the threatening messages. Claire's hands shook. "You need to stop, Jack. Whoever did this, whoever made Anna disappear, they're dangerous." I pressed her for more, but she shook her head, tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry, I can't help you." As I left Claire's house, I noticed the same dark-coated man from before parked down the street, watching. I drove away, my heart pounding, but he followed at a distance. I called Mark, my voice urgent. He's following me. I need help. Mark promised to send someone, but I knew I was running out of time. Back at the hotel, Lily was waiting, her face pale. Dad, someone called the room. They said you should stop asking questions or you'd never see me again. I hugged her, fear and anger warring inside me. We're leaving tonight. We packed our bags and checked out, paying cash. I drove to a motel on the edge of town, using a fake name. I called Mark again, telling him where we were. That night, I sat awake, watching the door, the weight of the secret pressing down on me. I knew I was close to the truth, but I also knew the danger was growing. The motel room was small and cold, the hum of the air conditioner the only sound in the darkness. I sat in the armchair, watching Lily sleep, her face peaceful for the first time in days. I promised myself I would keep her safe, no matter what. My phone buzzed at 2 a.m. It was Mark. Jack, I pulled some strings. The woman in 14C used a fake name, but the ticket was paid for in cash. Security footage shows her leaving the airport with a man, tall, dark hair, sunglasses. We're running facial recognition now. I thanked him, hope flickering in my chest. Mark, I need to know. What if Anna was forced to disappear? What if she's in danger? Mark's voice was grim. If that's true, you need to be careful. Whoever's behind this has power. Don't trust anyone. I hung up, my mind racing. I thought about Anna's last months, her anxiety, the way she'd jump at shadows, the phone calls she'd never explain. Had I missed the signs? Had she tried to warn me? At dawn, I found a note slipped under the motel door. Last warning, go home, or you'll lose her forever. My hands shook as I read it. I knew then that I couldn't turn back. I had to find Anna, no matter the cost. I decided to visit the private investigator I'd hired years ago after Anna's accident. His name was Harris, a gruff man with a sharp mind. He greeted me with a wary look. Jack Carter, didn't expect to see you again. I showed him the photo, the notes, and told him everything. Harris frowned. I remember your case. There were things that didn't add up. The car was tampered with, the police report was rushed, but every time I got close, someone shut me down. He pulled out a file, thick with old notes. I kept digging after you stopped calling. Anna was being watched. She withdrew large sums of cash before the accident. She met with a woman. Government, maybe. Then she vanished. I felt the world tilt. Why would he run? Why not tell me? Harris shook his head. Maybe she was protecting you. Or maybe she was forced. As I left Harris's office, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a video message. I opened it, my blood running cold. It was Anna, alive, terrified, her voice shaking. Jack, please, stop looking for me. You're in danger. They're watching. Protect Lily. I love you. The video cut off, static filling the screen. I drove back to the motel, my mind spinning. Anna was alive. She was in danger, and someone was using her to control me. I called Mark, sending him the video. He called back, his voice urgent. Jack, this is big. I'm forwarding this to the FBI. Stay put. Don't talk to anyone. I agreed, but I knew I couldn't just wait. I needed to act. That night, I searched the internet for clues, news stories, missing persons, anything that might connect to Anna. I found a forum post from a woman describing a similar disappearance, the same threats, the same warnings to stop digging. I messaged her, desperate for answers. I left Lily with the neighbor again, promising to be back soon. The park was quiet, the river slow and grey under the morning sky. A woman in a red coat sat on the bench, her eyes scanning the path. I sat beside her, my heart pounding. "You're the one from the forum?" She nodded. "My husband disappeared 2 years ago. Same threats, same warnings. I think it's a government cover-up. Witness protection, maybe, or something darker." I told her about Anna, about the video, about the threats. She listened, her face pale. "You need to be careful. They'll do anything to keep their secrets." She handed me a slip of paper. "This is the name of a reporter who's been investigating cases like ours. He's the only one who might help." As I left the park, I saw the dark-coated man again, watching from across the street. I hurried back to the motel, fear GNA, wing at my gut. I knew I was running out of time. Back at the motel, I locked the door and drew the curtains. Lily sensed my tension and stayed close, her eyes searching mine for reassurance. I tried to smile, but my mind was already racing ahead. I called the reporter, a man named Ethan Ross. His voice was cautious but curious. "Mr. Carter, I've heard stories like yours before. Most people give up. Why haven't you?" "Because my wife is alive, and someone is threatening my daughter," I said, my voice steady. There was a pause. "Meet me at the old train station, midnight. Come alone, and don't tell anyone you're coming." I agreed, writing down the address. I told Lily I had to step out for a bit, leaving her with the neighbor again. My heart ached, but I knew I had to do this for her, and for Anna. The train station was deserted, the air thick with the scent of rain and rust. Ethan Ross waited under a flickering light, a folder clutched in his hands. He handed it to me without a word. Inside were photos, documents, and a list of names. People who had vanished, just like Anna. Some had resurfaced with new identities. Others were never seen again. Ethan's voice was low. "Your wife stumbled onto something she shouldn't have. A government program, illegal surveillance, maybe worse. She tried to blow the whistle. That's why she ran. That's why they're watching you." I flipped through the folder, my hands shaking. There were surveillance photos of Anna, bank records, even transcripts of phone calls. My stomach twisted as I realized how deep this went. Ethan leaned in. "They'll do anything to keep this quiet. But if you go public, if you have proof, you might force their hand. But it's dangerous, Jack. They've ruined lives for less." I nodded, the weight of the decision pressing down on me. "What would you do?" He shrugged. "I'd run. But if you want justice, you need to be smart. Gather everything, make it impossible for them to silence you." As I left the station, headlights flashed in the darkness. A black SUV pulled up, blocking my path. 2 men stepped out, their faces hidden in shadow. One of them spoke, his voice cold. "Mr. Carter, you're making a mistake. Go home. Forget about Anna. This is your last warning." I stood my ground, fear and anger warring inside me. "I won't stop, not until I know the truth." The man stepped closer, his eyes hard. "Then you leave us no choice." They drove off, tires screeching. I hurried back to the motel, my mind racing. I knew now that Anna had run to protect us, but I also knew I couldn't let these men win. I called Mark, telling him everything. He promised to send backup, but warned me to be careful. "Jack, You're in over your head, but I'll do everything I can." That night, I barely slept. I watched over Lily, every sound outside making my heart race. I knew the time for waiting was over. I had to act. The next morning, I received an email from Anna. The subject line was blank. The message was short. "Meet me, noon, the old church. Come alone. Trust no one." I left Lily with the neighbor one last time, promising I'd be back soon. The old church was abandoned, its stained glass windows shattered, the pews covered in dust. I stepped inside, my heart pounding. Anna stood at the altar, her hair pulled back, her eyes haunted but alive. For a moment I couldn't breathe. She ran to me, tears streaming down her face. "Jack, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to leave you. But they threatened you, threatened Lily. I had to disappear." I held her, the years of pain and longing melting away. "We'll get through this. Together." She shook her head. "They're watching. They'll never let us go." I showed her the folder from Ethan, the proof of the conspiracy. "We have to go public. It's the only way." Anna hesitated, fear in her eyes. "If we do there's no going back." I nodded. "I know, but it's the only way to be free." Anna and I sat in the empty church, the weight of years and secrets pressing down on us. She told me everything, how she'd discovered the illegal surveillance program at her old job, how she'd been threatened, how she'd staged her own disappearance to protect us. She'd lived in the shadows, always running, always afraid. I listened, my anger growing, not at Anna, but at the people who had stolen our lives. "We're done hiding," I said. "We go public. We fight back." Anna nodded, her resolve hardening. "For Lily, for us." We spent the next 2 days gathering everything: Ethan's folder, Anna's hidden files, the video messages, the threats. I contacted Ethan Ross, the reporter, and arranged a meeting with his editor. Mark, my friend on the force, agreed to provide protection for Lily and Anna. The night before we went public, I received one last warning, a call from a blocked number, a man's voice, cold and final. "If you do this, you'll lose everything. This is your last chance." I hung up, my hand steady. "You already took everything that mattered. Now it's your turn to lose." The next morning, we met Ethan and his editor in a secure office. Anna laid out the evidence, her voice clear and unwavering. The editor listened, his face growing pale as the story unfolded. "This is huge," he said, "but it's dangerous. Are you sure?" Anna looked at me, then at the editor. "We're sure. We want the world to know." The story broke that night. Front page, national news. Whistleblower faked death to escape government conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming. The illegal program was exposed. The men who had threatened us were named, their faces splashed across every screen. The backlash was immediate. Investigations were launched. Arrests were made. The men in the black SUV were picked up by federal agents. The threats stopped. For the first time in years, I felt safe. Anna and Asuma and Sitiyat.